The stars looked different from the bridge of the Harmony's edge. Captain Hyunwoo had been staring at them for 3 hours now, watching the ancient alien structure float in the darkness ahead of their ship. The metal object was huge, bigger than any building back on Earth. Nobody knew who built it or why it was here in the empty space between star systems. Dr. So-min walked up to stand beside him. She was the ship's expert on alien life. Though she had never seen a living alien before, none of them had. Humans had found old buildings and broken machines on dead planets, but never anything alive. Until today. The readings are getting stronger, So-min said, looking at her tablet. Whatever is inside that structure, it's still working after all these years. Dongmin looked up from his workstation. He was the youngest person on the ship, only 25 years old, but he was good with machines. Any kind of machine. I think I can get us closer, he said. The engines are running perfectly today. Hyunwoo nodded. They had come too far to turn back now. The Earth government had sent them here to study the ancient structure. They needed to learn its secrets. Humanity was still new to space travel, and they needed all the help they could get. But as Dongmin started the engines, something appeared on their screens. It was another ship, coming fast from behind the alien structure. This ship was not made by humans. It was smooth and white, shaped like a long crystal. It moved without making any sound. Unknown vessel, a voice came through their radio. The voice spoke perfect English, but it sounded cold and empty. You are in restricted space. Prepare to be boarded, So-min grabbed the radio. This is Dr. So-min of the Earth ship Harmony's Edge. We are here on a peaceful research mission. We did not know this area was restricted. All human vessels are restricted, the voice replied. You carry dangerous technology. You will submit to mind scanning immediately. Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster. Mind scanning? What did that mean? He looked at his crew. There were 12 humans on the ship, all good people, all scientists and engineers. They had no weapons except some small tools for protection against wild animals on planets. The alien ship moved closer. It was 3 times bigger than their ship. Strange lights danced along its surface. If you do not comply, your vessel will be destroyed, the voice said. We comply, Hyunwoo said quickly. He did not want his crew to die in empty space. What do you want us to do? Prepare one of your kind for mental examination. We will board your ship in 10 minutes. The radio went quiet. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. They were all scared, but trying not to show it. These were brave people who had traveled far from Earth to study the unknown. But none of them had expected to meet living aliens. What's mind scanning? Asked Tae-jin, the ship's doctor. I don't know, So-min replied. But it doesn't sound good. Dongmin stood up from his chair. I'll do it, he said. I'm the youngest. If something goes wrong, the rest of you can still get home. No, Hyunwoo said. I'm the captain. It should be me. With respect, Captain, Dongmin said. You need to stay with the ship. I'm just an engineer. You're all more important than me. Before anyone could argue, there was a bright flash outside. The alien ship had moved right next to theirs. Something that looked like a glass tube connected the 2 ships. Then they heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy footsteps that did not sound human. The door to the bridge opened. The creature that walked in was taller than any human, maybe 8 feet tall. Its skin was white and smooth like polished stone. It had long arms and legs, and where its face should be, there was just smooth white surface with tiny lights moving under the skin. I am Velthar, the creature said, but its mouth did not move. The voice came from inside their heads. I am here to examine your minds for dangerous thoughts. Which one of you will be first? Dongmin stepped forward. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. I will. Velthar turned toward him. The lights under the creature's skin moved faster. You are young. Good. Young minds are easier to read. Come with me. Wait, So-min said. What exactly are you going to do to him? I will look inside his thoughts, Velthar replied. I will see all his memories, all his knowledge, all his secrets. If he carries dangerous information, I will remove it. If his mind is too dangerous, I will shut it down permanently. The crew looked at each other in horror. Shut down permanently? That meant death. How do we know you won't hurt him? Hyunwoo asked. You do not, Velthar said simply. But if you refuse, I will destroy your ship and examine your floating bodies instead. Dead minds are harder to read, but not impossible. Dongmin walked toward the alien. It's okay, he told his friends. I'll be careful. Velthar led him out of the bridge. The rest of the crew could only wait and worry. In a small room that the alien had prepared, Dongmin sat in a strange chair made of the same white material as the alien's ship. Velthar placed thin silver wires against Dongmin's head. "Do not resist," the alien said. "Resistance only makes the process more painful." Dongmin closed his eyes. He thought about his sister Mi-young back on Earth. She was probably working in her garden right now, not knowing that her little brother was about to have his mind invaded by an alien creature. He thought about his parents, about his friends, about the small apartment he shared with his cat. "I am ready," he said. Velthar had done this thousands of times before. He had read the minds of creatures from 100 different worlds. Some had tried to fight him. Some had tried to hide their thoughts. All of them had failed. The minds of other species were simple things, easy to understand and control. He had never met a human before, but he expected their minds to be like all the others. Simple, weak, easy to break. Velthar reached out with his thoughts toward Dongmin's mind, ready to take control. He was confident. He was experienced. He was the best mind reader in the galaxy. He had no idea what he was about to find. Velthar pushed his mind toward Dongmin's thoughts, expecting to find the usual simple patterns. When he touched other alien minds, it was like walking into a quiet room with one person sitting inside. He could see their thoughts clearly, change them easily, and control them completely. But when he touched Dongmin's mind, it was like walking into a busy city during rush hour. There were thoughts everywhere. Not just one line of thinking, but dozens of different thoughts, all happening at the same time. Dongmin was thinking about his fear of the alien, but he was also doing math problems in his head. At the same time, he was remembering a song his mother used to sing, planning what he would eat for dinner, and wondering if the ship's engines needed maintenance. Velthar had never experienced anything like this. How could one mind think about so many different things at once? It was impossible. Minds were supposed to focus on one thing at a time. He tried to focus on Dongmin's fear, thinking that would be the strongest emotion. But even the fear was complicated. Dongmin was scared of dying, but he was also excited about meeting an alien. He was worried about his friends on the ship, but also curious about how the alien's mind reading worked. He was thinking about running away, but also about how to help his crewmates if they got in trouble. "Strange," Velthar said out loud. His voice sounded confused for the first time in centuries. On the bridge of the human ship, the crew waited nervously. They could not hear what was happening in the examination room, but they could see strange lights flashing through the walls. "How long has it been?" asked So-min. 20 minutes, replied Hyunwoo, looking at his watch. "Is that normal for this kind of thing?" "How would we know?" said Taijin. "We've never seen anything like this before." Back in the examination room, Velthar was getting more confused. He tried to go deeper into Dongmin's mind, looking for the core thoughts that controlled everything else. In other species, there was always a central control area where the most important thinking happened. But in Dongmin's mind, there was no center. The thoughts were scattered everywhere, all connected to each other in ways that made no sense. It was like trying to find the most important part of a spider web. Worse, some of Dongmin's thoughts were about things that had never happened. Velthar found detailed memories of Dongmin flying through space without a ship, fighting monsters on alien planets, and talking to people who did not exist. These false memories were mixed in with real ones, and they felt just as strong and clear. "What are these images?" Velthar asked, his mental voice strained. "These events did not happen." Dongmin opened his eyes, looking surprised. "Oh, those are just dreams and stories I make up. I like to imagine things." "Imagine?" Velthar did not understand the word. "You create false memories on purpose?" "Not false memories," Dongmin explained. "Just things I think about for fun, like stories in my head. Doesn't everyone do that?" Velthar was silent. No other species did that. Why would anyone want to fill their mind with events that never happened? It seemed like a waste of brain power. He pushed deeper, trying to understand how the human mind worked. What he found next was even more disturbing. Dongmin's brain was not just thinking about the present moment. It was constantly running background programs, like a computer that never turned off. Part of Dongmin's mind was controlling his heartbeat. Another part was keeping track of his balance so he would not fall over. Another part was processing the sounds in the room, the feeling of the chair against his skin, the temperature of the air, and hundreds of other small details. All of this was happening without Dongmin even knowing about it. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was that Dongmin's mind was also thinking about thinking. He was aware that he was thinking, and he was thinking about being aware of thinking. It created loops inside loops like mirrors facing each other going on forever. "Your mind never stops," Velthar said, his voice getting weaker. "How do you sleep? How do you rest?" "Even when I sleep, I dream," Dongmin replied. "My brain keeps working all night. Sometimes I solve problems in my dreams that I couldn't solve when I was awake." Velthar felt something he had never felt before while reading a mind. He felt lost. In every other alien mind, there were clear paths to follow, clear areas of weakness he could exploit. But Dongmin's mind was like a maze with no exit, and the human was not even trying to fight him. If anything, Dongmin seemed curious about what the alien was experiencing. "What's it like?" he asked. "Reading someone's mind? Can you see everything?" "I'm thinking. I can see some of it," Velthar admitted. "But there is too much. Your thoughts move in too many directions. And you have thoughts about thoughts about thoughts. It creates patterns I cannot follow." Dongmin smiled. "Yeah. People always told me I think too much. My sister Mi-young says I should try to turn my brain off sometimes and just relax." As soon as Dongmin mentioned his sister, Velthar was flooded with thousands of memories. Dongmin thinking about Mi-young as a baby, as a child, as a teenager, as an adult. Happy memories, sad memories, funny memories, boring memories. But they were not just stored like files in a computer. Each memory came with emotions, smells, sounds, and feelings that made them feel real and alive. And somehow, all of these memories about Mi-young were connected to other memories. His sister reminded him of his mother, which reminded him of his childhood home, which reminded him of his first pet, which reminded him of a book he read, which reminded him of a movie he saw, which reminded him of a girl he liked in school. The connections went on and on, creating a web of associations that stretched through Dongmin's entire life. Every thought was connected to every other thought in ways that seemed random, but somehow made perfect sense. Velthar tried to pull back to get some distance from the chaos of the human mind, but he found that he could not. Dongmin's thoughts were pulling him in like quicksand. The more he struggled to get free, the deeper he sank. "Are you okay?" Dongmin asked, noticing that the alien was starting to shake. "You don't look so good." Velthar could not answer. He was trapped in a maze of human consciousness, and he was beginning to panic. In all his centuries of mind reading, he had never encountered anything like this. He had always been the hunter, but now he felt like prey. And Dongmin was not even trying to hurt him. The human was just being human, thinking normal human thoughts. But those normal thoughts were destroying Velthar's mind, piece by piece. Velthar forced himself to go deeper into Dongmin's mind, determined to find some kind of order in the chaos. He had to prove to himself that human minds were not really different from other alien minds. There had to be a simple core underneath all the confusion. What he found was even worse. Below the surface thoughts, below the conscious thinking, was an entire world that Dongmin did not even know existed. It was like discovering that the busy city was built on top of an even bigger, busier city underground. Dongmin's unconscious mind was working constantly. It was storing every single thing that had ever happened to him, even things he thought he had forgotten. When Dongmin was 3 years old, he had seen a red bird outside his window. He had not thought about that bird in 20 years, but the memory was still there, complete and perfect. The alien could see the bird, hear its song, feel the sunshine that had come through the window that day. But it was not just memories. Dongmin's unconscious mind was also running programs that kept his body alive. It controlled his breathing, his digestion, his immune system, and thousands of other functions. It was like having a whole team of doctors working inside his body, but they never stopped and never needed rest. And then Velthar discovered something that should not exist. Dreams. Human dreams were not like the simple sleep states of other species. They were entire alternate realities that the mind created every night. In Dongmin's dream memories, Velthar found impossible worlds full of flying cars, talking animals, and cities made of candy. He found dreams where Dongmin was a child again, dreams where he was an old man, dreams where he was someone else entirely. Some dreams were scary, full of monsters and dangerous situations. But instead of trying to forget these nightmares, Dongmin's mind had somehow learned from them. The scary dreams had taught him how to be brave in real life. "Your mind creates false realities while you sleep," Velthar said, his voice getting weaker. "Why does it do this?" "I don't know," Dongmin replied honestly. "I've always wondered about that too. Sometimes my dreams help me solve problems. Sometimes they're just weird and fun. Sometimes they're scary, but I usually feel better after I wake up." Velthar tried to understand this, but it hurt his mind to think about it. Why would any brain waste energy creating experiences that were not real? It seemed like the most inefficient thing possible. But as he explored more of Dongmin's memories, he found something even stranger. Humans did not just dream when they were asleep. They also created false realities while they were awake. Dongmin called it imagination. The human spent time every day thinking about things that had never happened and might never happen. He imagined conversations with people he had never met. He imagined traveling to planets that might not exist. He imagined inventing machines that no one had ever built. He imagined what his life might be like if he had made different choices. And somehow these imaginary experiences made him better at dealing with real life. By imagining difficult situations, he had prepared himself for when they actually happened. By imagining new inventions, he had become better at fixing real machines. "This is impossible," Velthar said. "Minds are not supposed to work this way." "What way?" asked Dongmin. "Your mind is creative. It makes new things that did not exist before. Other species only think about what is real, but you think about what could be real or what might be real or what you want to be real." Dongmin laughed. "Well, yeah, that's what makes life interesting. If I could only think about things that already existed, life would be pretty boring." Velthar felt something crack inside his own mind. He had spent his life believing that thinking was about processing information, storing memories, and making simple decisions. But human thinking was something completely different. It was about creating new possibilities that had never existed before. And then he discovered the most disturbing thing of all. Dongmin was thinking about thinking. The human was not just aware that he was thinking. He was thinking about the process of thinking itself. He was wondering how his own mind worked. He was thinking about what it meant to be conscious, what it meant to be alive, what it meant to exist. This created loops inside loops inside loops. Dongmin was thinking about Velthar, thinking about Dongmin, thinking about thinking. It was like looking into a mirror that was facing another mirror, creating reflections that went on forever. "Stop," Velthar said weakly. "You must stop thinking about thinking." "I can't," Dongmin said. "Now that you've mentioned it, I'm thinking about why you want me to stop thinking about thinking. And I'm thinking about whether it's possible to stop thinking about something just because someone asks you to. And I'm thinking about what it means to think about not thinking." Velthar felt his mind start to spin. He had never encountered anything like this. Every other species had simple linear thought patterns. They thought about one thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. But humans thought about everything all at once, including the process of thinking itself. And underneath all of this chaos, Velthar found something that terrified him more than anything else. Dongmin's emotions were connected to his thoughts in ways that made no logical sense. When Dongmin thought about his sister, he felt happy. When he thought about math problems, he felt excited. When he thought about the possibility of helping other people, he felt warm and good inside. But when he thought about hurting someone, even by accident, he felt sick and sad. The human's emotions were not just reactions to what happened to him. They were active parts of his thinking process. They helped him make decisions, solve problems, and understand the world. Without emotions, Dongmin's mind would not work properly. This was the opposite of how Velthar's mind worked. The alien had been taught that emotions were weaknesses that got in the way of clear thinking. But for humans, emotions seem to make thinking stronger and more effective. "Your emotions and thoughts are mixed together," Velthar said, sounding confused and scared. "How can you think clearly when feelings are affecting your logic?" "I think feelings help me think better," Dongmin replied. When I'm happy, I'm more creative. When I'm worried about someone, I work harder to help them. When something feels wrong, I know to be careful even if I can't explain why. Velthar tried to pull his consciousness back from Dongmin's mind, but he found that he could not. The human thoughts were too complex, too interconnected, too alive. They were pulling him deeper and deeper into a maze that had no exit. And the worst part was that Dongmin did not even realize how powerful his mind was. To him, this chaos of thoughts and emotions and dreams and imagination was just normal human thinking. He had no idea that he was breaking the most powerful mind reader in the galaxy just by being himself. Velthar was trapped now, pulled so deep into Dongmin's mind that he could not find his way back to his own thoughts. He tried to focus on something simple, something he could understand, but everything in the human's mind was connected to everything else. Then he found Dongmin's memories of pain, and he thought he had finally discovered something familiar. All species experience pain. All species tried to avoid it. This at least should be simple to understand, but what Velthar found in those memories made everything worse. When Dongmin was 15 years old, his older brother Jin Ho had died in an accident at a factory. Velthar could see the memory clearly. Dongmin getting the phone call, rushing to the hospital, seeing his brother's broken body, watching his parents cry. In any other species, this kind of trauma would create a weakness that Velthar could exploit. Pain memories were usually the easiest way to break a mind. He could make the victim relive their worst moments over and over until they could not think about anything else. But Dongmin's mind had done something impossible. Instead of letting the pain destroy him, he had somehow transformed it into strength. The memory of losing Jinho was connected to dozens of other memories. Dongmin working harder in school because his brother had always encouraged his education. Dongmin learning to fix machines because Jinho had been good with his hands. Dongmin being kind to his friends because he knew how much it hurt to lose someone you loved. The pain was still there, but it was not just pain anymore. It had become love and determination and wisdom and compassion. Dongmin had taken the worst thing that ever happened to him and used it to become a better person. This is not how minds work, Velthar said, his voice barely a whisper. Pain is supposed to make creatures weaker. It is supposed to break them. Sometimes it does, Dongmin replied sadly. I was broken for a while after Jinho died. But my family helped me and my friends helped me. And eventually I realized that the best way to honor my brother was to keep living and keep trying to help other people. Velthar found more examples of this impossible pattern. When Dongmin was 8, some older children had bullied him at school, calling him stupid and pushing him around. Instead of making him mean and angry, the experience had taught him to be kind to other kids who were being picked on. When Dongmin was 20, a girl he loved had left him for someone else. Instead of making him hate women or become bitter about love, the heartbreak had taught him to appreciate the people who did care about him. Every scar in Dongmin's mind had been transformed into wisdom. Every failure had become a lesson. Every loss had become gratitude for what remained. It was as if the human mind had the ability to take poison and turn it into medicine. You take your pain and make it into strength, Velthar said, sounding amazed and terrified. How is this possible? I don't know, Dongmin said. I guess I learned it from watching other people. My parents, my teachers, my friends. When bad things happened to them, they found ways to keep going and even help other people who were going through similar problems. Velthar realized that this was not just something Dongmin did. It was something all humans did. They shared their pain with each other, and somehow that made everyone stronger. They told stories about their difficulties, and those stories helped other people survive their own difficulties. But there was something even more disturbing than humans' ability to transform pain. Velthar discovered that Dongmin's mind contained entire worlds of pure thought that served no survival purpose at all. The human understood mathematics not just as a tool for solving practical problems, but as a beautiful pattern that existed for its own sake. He could spend hours thinking about numbers and equations just because he found them interesting. He understood music not just as pleasant sounds, but as emotional communication that could make him feel things that had no names. He could listen to a song and experience joy, sadness, excitement, and peace all at the same time. He understood art not just as decoration, but as a way of seeing the world differently. He could look at a painting and see not just colors and shapes, but ideas and feelings and possibilities. Most impossibly of all, Dongmin spent time thinking about philosophical questions that had no practical answers. He wondered about the meaning of life, the nature of reality, the possibility of other universes, the ethics of artificial intelligence, and dozens of other topics that would never help him survive or find food or avoid danger. "Why do you think about these useless things?" Velthar asked. "Mathematics that has no application, music that serves no function, art that solves no problems, philosophy that answers no practical questions?" "Because they're beautiful," Dongmin replied simply. "Because they make me feel wonder. Because they help me understand what it means to be alive and conscious and part of something bigger than myself." Velthar's mind began to fragment under the weight of trying to understand this. His species had evolved telepathy as a weapon, a tool for domination and control. Their minds were efficient, focused, practical. They thought about what they needed to think about and nothing more. But human minds were vast oceans of consciousness that contained entire universes of pure thought. They were not just tools for survival. They were instruments for experiencing beauty, creating meaning, and exploring the infinite possibilities of existence. The alien tried desperately to find some weakness he could exploit, some simple desire he could manipulate. But even Dongmin's desires were impossibly complex. The human wanted to help his friends, but he also wanted to learn new things. He wanted to be safe, but he also wanted to explore dangerous places. He wanted to be loved, but he also wanted to be independent. He wanted to understand the universe, but he also wanted to maintain a sense of mystery and wonder. Every desire was balanced by other desires. Every goal was connected to other goals. Every value was part of a web of values that supported and challenged each other. It was a system of consciousness so stable and self-regulating that Velthar could not find any way to break it. And underneath all of this complexity, Dongmin's mind was still growing. It was not a fixed system, but a living thing that adapted and evolved with every new experience. The act of being mind-probed by an alien was already changing how Dongmin thought about consciousness, telepathy, and the nature of communication between different species. "Your mind is changing even as I examine it," Velthar said in horror. "It learns from everything, even from attack." "Yeah, this is pretty interesting," Dongmin said. "I've never had anyone look inside my thoughts before. It's making me think about thinking in ways I never considered. Are all alien minds like yours? Do you experience emotions? Do you dream? Do you create art?" Each question that Dongmin asked created new patterns of thought that spread through his mind like ripples in a pond. His curiosity was generating more complexity, even as Velthar struggled to understand the complexity that already existed. The alien telepath felt his own consciousness beginning to tear apart. He had spent his entire life believing that minds were simple things that could be dominated and controlled. But human minds were not just complex. They were infinitely complex, endlessly creative, constantly growing, and Dongmin was not even trying to fight him. The human was simply being human, thinking human thoughts, feeling human emotions, dreaming human dreams. But those normal human activities were destroying the most powerful mind in the galaxy. Velthar's mind finally shattered like glass hitting concrete. The alien let out a scream that echoed through both ships, a sound of pure mental agony that no physical pain could create. His tall white body collapsed to the floor, the lights under his skin flashing wildly before going dark. The silver wires connecting him to Dongmin sparked and melted. Dongmin jumped up from the chair, suddenly free from the mental connection. He felt like someone had been rummaging around inside his head with cold fingers, but otherwise he was fine. Better than fine, actually. The experience had been strange and interesting, like looking at his own thoughts from the outside. "Are you okay?" Dongmin asked, kneeling beside the fallen alien. Velthar was making small whimpering sounds and curled up in a ball. His smooth white skin was cracked in several places, and dark fluid was leaking out. The door burst open and the crew of the Harmony's Edge rushed in, led by Dr. So-min and Captain Hyun-woo. They stopped when they saw Velthar on the floor and Dongmin standing over him looking confused. "What happened?" So-min asked, pulling out her medical scanner. "I'm not sure," Dongmin said. "He was reading my mind, asking me questions, and then he started shaking and fell down. I think something went wrong with his telepathy thing. On the alien ship, emergency alarms were ringing. Other aliens like Velthar rushed around in panic, speaking to each other in their strange telepathic language. They had felt their colleague's mind break, and they could not understand what had happened. Commander Velthar has suffered critical mental damage, one of them reported to their ship's leader. His consciousness has been fragmented beyond repair. How is this possible? The leader asked. Velthar is our strongest telepath. What could have broken his mind? The human, the alien replied. The human's mind was wrong, different. We have never encountered anything like it. Back on the human ship, Somin was scanning the alien with her medical equipment. The readings were confusing. Velthar's body seemed to be healthy, but something was very wrong with his brain activity. It's like his mind has been scrambled, she told Hyunwoo. I can see electrical activity in his brain, but it's completely chaotic. No patterns, no organization. It's like someone took a computer and randomly rewired all the circuits. Hyunwoo looked at Dongmin. What exactly did he do to you? He said he was reading my mind, Dongmin explained. He wanted to look at my thoughts and memories. It felt weird, like someone was poking around inside my head, but I just tried to think normal thoughts. I wasn't trying to hurt him or anything. Normal thoughts? Somin asked. Yeah, you know. I was thinking about work and my family and wondering how his telepathy worked, and remembering that song Myung likes, and trying to figure out if we could fix the ship's ventilation system, and imagining what it would be like to visit other planets. And Dongmin stopped talking when he saw everyone staring at him. You were thinking about all of that at the same time? Hyunwoo asked. Well, yeah. Wasn't I supposed to? A communication came through from the alien ship. The voice sounded frightened and desperate, nothing like the confident tone from before. Human vessel, the alien said. We request immediate permission to withdraw. Our telepathic examination has been concluded. What about your colleague? Hyunwoo asked, looking down at Velthar. He is damaged. Keep him. We cannot repair what has been broken. We must report this to the Galactic Council immediately. Wait, Somin said into the radio. We want to help him. What happened? What went wrong? There was a long pause before the alien replied. Your species. Your minds. They are not what we expected. We have examined the thoughts of thousands of species across the galaxy. All minds follow the same basic patterns. Simple, linear, controllable. But human minds are... Another pause. Impossible, the alien finally said. Your minds are impossible. They should not be able to function. They are too complex, too chaotic, too... alive. We do not understand how you can think so many thoughts at once. How you can create ideas that have never existed. How you can transform pain into strength. How you can imagine things that are not real but somehow make them affect reality. That just sounds like normal thinking to me. Dongmin said. That is what terrifies us, the alien replied. What you call normal thinking would drive any other species insane. Your minds are weapons of mass destruction, and you do not even know it. The alien ship began to move away from the Harmony's edge. We are sending a priority message to all Galactic Council ships, the alien continued. Avoid human space. Do not attempt telepathic contact with humans. Their minds are too dangerous for our kind to approach. Dangerous? Hyunwoo asked. We're just scientists. We're not trying to hurt anyone. You cannot help what you are, the alien replied. Your thoughts are like looking directly into the heart of a star. Too bright, too hot, too much energy. Our minds are not equipped to handle that level of consciousness. The alien ship moved farther away, its white surface flickering with nervous energy. The Galactic Council will want to study this phenomenon from a safe distance, the alien said. Humanity will be classified as a telepathically hazardous species. You will be left alone for our own protection. And then they were gone, disappearing into faster-than-light travel, leaving only empty space and stars. Dr. Somin continued trying to help Velthar, but the alien's mind seemed to be permanently damaged. He could still breathe and his body still worked, but he could no longer think in any organized way. Sometimes he would make small sounds as if trying to communicate, but there was no intelligence left behind his cracked white face. I feel bad for him, Dongmin said. I really wasn't trying to hurt him. I was just thinking. Maybe that's the point, Somin replied thoughtfully. Maybe human thinking is more powerful than we realized. We've always thought of our minds as normal, but compared to other species, maybe we're the strange ones. Captain Hyunwoo looked out at the ancient alien structure they had come here to study. If our minds are really that different, that powerful, what does that mean for humanity's future in the galaxy? I don't know, Somin said. But I think we just became the scariest species in known space, and we did it just by being ourselves. Dongmin went back to his engineering station and started checking the ship's systems. His mind was already moving on to other thoughts, wondering about the alien technology, planning maintenance schedules, thinking about what to write in his next letter to Mi Young, imagining what other alien species might be like, and composing a mental grocery list for when they got back to Earth. Just normal human thinking. The kind of thinking that had broken the most powerful telepath in the galaxy without even trying. In the depths of space, messages were already spreading through the Galactic Council's telepathic networks. The humans were not what they seemed. Their minds were vast, chaotic, and utterly incomprehensible. They could transform any experience into strength, create entire universes of pure thought, and think about thinking until reality itself seemed to bend around their consciousness. The message was simple and clear. Beware the humans. Their minds are weapons and they do not even know it. But on the Harmony's edge, Dongmin just hummed a song his sister had taught him and got back to work, completely unaware that he had just changed humanity's place in the universe forever.